It's time now to check your money with America's money maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, well, I don't want to say he's a special guest anymore because this is his third time on the
That's
show.
right.
But we
That's
got our
right.
friendly neighborhood advisor in the house.
That's right. We've got the friendly neighborhood advisor in the house because, as we said, and we promised everyone, once a month we would make sure that Mr. Michael Jennings, our friendly neighborhood advisor, would join us with to address any special questions that may have come from our viewers and listeners over the last month. And it's really interesting, the type of question that he has this week, because we started this conversation last week, George, with what's going on with interest rates and inflation, but it seems like we didn't quite cover it enough because we got a flood of questions around that. So that's where I'm going to leave it now in Michael's hands for this week's discussion.
Listen, I started that conversation. I was like, well, wait a minute, Vicki, what up?
Exactly. It's such a deep subject that it just spurred on additional questions. So Mike, what do we have for this week?
Yes. So we got a question in from a young lady. She actually just started her career, and she's also just starting getting into investing. So the question that she had is, hey, Mike, I keep hearing about inflation in the news, but I still don't really know what it is exactly or how it affects my investments or finances in general. And that's a great question. And I know you guys spoke about this last week, but again, it'll be good to go over it again. Because inflation has been in the headlines heavily as of late, especially now that we are seeing inflation levels reaching 30 to 40-year highs. But to answer the first part of that question, what is inflation? Inflation is simply the rising costs of goods over time. How many times a day have you seen something that you buy all the time and you say to yourself, now this did not used to cost this much, right? I do that about twice a week myself at the grocery store. And it's true. That is the basic idea of inflation. Things are becoming more expensive. Now, how does that relate to your finances? Well, obviously, if the amount you have to pay for things is rising, that means you're going to be spending more of your money. And over time, over many years, that rate keeps piling onto itself, which is known as compounding in financial terms.
So, Mike, when we look at the fact that, yes, I agree with you, because I went into, I won't say the name, I went into Kenny's the other day, spent $132, walked out with a couple of bags. I bought some vitamins because, I felt like I needed to get beefed up and can't get my vitamins. And everything, I felt like everything was double. And I was listening to a lady on the other side of the aisle who was saying the same thing to the person. She was shopping with someone else. So when we look at inflation, as far as our cost of goods and services, what are some of the things that you think we should be prepared for?
Well, definitely as of late, with everything that's going on, you're going to be seeing higher costs for things such as gas, like you mentioned, prescriptions, even things that you buy at the grocery store, things you buy at the corner store, everything that's connected to, that supply chain, as the production for these items keep increasing, that price is going to keep increasing as well. So we're going to have to find ways to combat that. And that actually brings us into the second part of that question there. How does inflation relate to your investments in particular? Now, picture this. Let's say you have, $10,000 in cash tucked away in your savings account. I was going to say tucked away under your mattress, but you should not be having any money under your mattress anymore. But $10,000 today can get you a lot of things, theoretically. But 10 to 15 years ago, that $10,000 could have gotten you a lot more. And 10 to 15 years from now, that $10,000 is going to get you a lot less. And that is what is known as your purchasing power. Now, if the cost of goods are going up, then you are going to have to pay more. You're going to have to pay more for the same things that you're used to buying, and your purchasing power is going to decrease. Now, historically, the average annual rate of inflation has been somewhere around 3%. And it is much higher these days with everything that's going on. But historically, around 3% is a good marker. And when we talk about investments, most people's main concern is, what is my rate of return? How much am I making from my investments? Now, let's say if you're making 5% from your investments over time, when you factor in that inflation, that 3%, you're really only making 2% as far as your investments go. And if you're keeping your cash just strictly in savings, there's absolutely no way you're getting anywhere near 3% interest to fight that inflation. If anybody listening out there knows of a savings account where you're getting 3%, please call, tell me. I will open an account in the morning. But until then, you're not going to be seeing that. What you're really going to be seeing is a lot closer to 0.05% on average as far as interest in a savings account. So that is one of the main reasons why investing is important. Your money needs to be working for you to beat that inflation at the very bare minimum.
So now, Mike, you mentioned that if I'm earning 0.5%, which is basically the typical rate there in a savings account right now, and inflation is at 3%, mm-hmm. What am I really earning? Can you tell me?
Yeah. Well, first, I think you misheard me on that.
Okay.
It's not 0.5%. It's 0.05%.
0.05%. Okay.
0.05%.
That's less than 1%.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But what am I really earning? Am I really getting 0.05%?
That's the thing. You won't be earning. You'll be losing at a rate of negative 2.95%. Oh, now when you look at your account over time, you're not going to see that, that numerical amount actually falling. But what you're actually losing is the value of that dollar, the amount of purchasing power that you have with that money.
So what are you telling me then that I need to do?
At the very least, you should be, yes, you could keep your money in a savings account at the very least. Banking is generally safe. It's a lot safer than that old mattress of yours. But what you should be looking into, what is the best option for you as far as investing, and really using that 3% historical annual rate for inflation as the bare minimum of what you should be earning.
Okay. All right. Then fine. So now I thought, it was really interesting that we were talking about this subject today, because I saw on I think it was CNBC a couple of days ago that the average, listen to this, the average down payment, not the house, the down payment, the median down payment to buy an average home, a median size home in the US now is $78,000.
Wow.
$78,000. Now, Mike, you probably go, well, okay, fine, Vicki, but listen, $78,000 is twice the amount I spent on the whole house, on the first house that I bought, okay, when I was a young adult. And I asked some other friends, and they said 70. No, okay, my whole house probably was 3 times, 1/3 of that number. I could have gotten 3 houses for that $78,000. So the whole issue around inflation and also housing costs is a conversation that we will probably delve into a little bit more next week, because there's some hacks that I want to talk to our audience about concerning inflation and housing, because millennials, those people who look like you, Mike, millennials are going to have a tough time reaching into finding $78,000 just for the down payment for a new home. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Friendly Neighborhood Advisor, this week. At this point in time, George, okay, I just want to remind everyone that if you have questions of Mike, how do we reach you, Mike?
You can reach me at my email. That'll be michael.jennings@brackensfsn.com. And you can also reach me at the office number, which is, just a second.
315.
Tell him the office number.
I'll tell you if you need to know.
George knows the office number.
315, Michael, 930.
I don't have to call the office as much as
You got that, Michael? 315-930-4499.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Listen, okay. All kidding aside, if you have any questions, be sure and reach out to Mike, or to reach out to us at info@brackensfsn.com. 315-930-4499. Go on to YouTube and make sure that you watch us, that you like, share, and subscribe. And at this point in time, George, I will say our plate is full.
All right, Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's money maven.